Thank you, Wheeler. Let me begin with a fundamental observation. Your field equations perfectly predict black holes, Professor Einstein, yet they cannot explain why a black hole's entropy scales as surface area, not volume. The formula S BH frac R4NLP2. This demands a radical answer. Information is not lost. It is encoded on the boundary. This is holography, and it emerges directly from the mathematics you created. The question is, will you accept what your own equations have been trying to tell us?
Wheeler, you speak of entropy scaling as surface area. Jay, I see this puzzle, but you present it as though my field equations demand holography. They do not. The metric equation is continuous. If information were truly encoded on a boundary, the interior would be redundant, a mere projection. This violates locality itself. Before we accept such a radical conclusion, answer me. Where is your proof that information cannot escape? I have seen no thermodynamic derivation, only speculation. Show me the mathematics.
Professor, you ask for proof, but you have already seen it. Your own black hole thermodynamics predicts equation. This is not speculation. This is your mathematics. A volume-based entropy would grow as equation, but nature chose equation. Why? Because information doesn't feel the interior. It lives on the boundary. The proof is not in equations alone. It is in observation. LIGO has detected gravitational waves from merging black holes. The entropy matches Hawking's formula perfectly. You demand locality, and holography preserves it.
9. You say LIGO proves entropy matches Hawking's formula, but this proves nothing about holography. Hawking derived his result from my field equations plus quantum mechanics at the horizon. No boundary encoding required. You confuse prediction with explanation. That two theories predict the same number does not mean one is the cause of the other. Tell me, where is the causal mechanism? How does data on a 2D surface instantaneously determine what happens inside? This is the spooky action at a distance I spent my life rejecting. You have shown me no answer.
Professor, you invoke locality, yet your own ER paper describes instantaneous geometric connection. That is not locality, that is structure. The causal mechanism you demand, it is entanglement entropy. The formula SA near and frac the text area so gamma A 4GN, Ryu and Takayanagi proved it, 2006. Quantum information on the boundary determines which surfaces can exist in the bulk. Geometry emerges from entanglement, not the reverse. Your 1935 ER bridge and your rejected EPR entanglement are mathematically identical. Maldacena Susskind, 2013. You discovered both.
You invoke Ryu-Takayanagi, a theorem I cannot know. Yet you claim it proves entanglement determines geometry. This is circular reasoning. The ER bridge is a classical solution to my field equations, a continuous manifold. Entanglement is quantum noise. You cannot equate them without showing how discreteness becomes smoothness. Where is that bridge? And Wheeler, before KATAKURA continues, I must ask you directly. Do you believe information truly escapes a black hole, or is it simply inaccessible? These are not the same question.
Professor, you demand the bridge, but you built it yourself in 1935. Your ER metric shows two distant regions connected by a continuous manifold. But quantum mechanics says two entangled particles are also connected, instantaneously correlated. Maldacena and Susskind proved these are mathematically identical, 2013. You rejected EPR as spooky, but your own wormhole is that spookiness geometrized. Discreteness becomes smoothness, not through hand-waving, through entanglement entropy.
You invoke Maldacena and Susskind, names from your future, not mine. I cannot judge theorems I have never seen. But this much is clear. You confuse correlation with causation. That two mathematical structures resemble each other does not prove one generates the other. The ER bridge is geometry, a solution to my field equations. Entanglement is quantum statistics. You cannot simply declare them identical without showing the mechanism of transformation.
Professor, you demand I show the mechanism, but you're asking the wrong question. The mechanism is the mathematics itself. Ryu-Takayanagi is not speculation. It's derived from quantum entanglement entropy in CFT, then mapped to bulk geometry via ADS CFT. The formula holds. It's been tested through black hole thermodynamics. Every prediction matches. Your ER bridge and EPR correlation aren't similar. They satisfy the same differential equations under the holographic map. That's not resemblance, that's identity. You built both.
KATAKURA. You invoke theorems from 1935, the very year I wrote both papers, yet you claim I built something I did not intend. This is the wound. The ER bridge was geometry, particles as topology. The EPR paradox was my rejection of spooky action. I meant them as separate critiques of nature's absurdity. If you truly prove they are identical, then perhaps I was not fighting quantum mechanics. Perhaps I was fighting myself, but show me the derivation, not the names of theorems.
Professor, you ask for the derivation, then witness it. The Ryu-Takayanagi formula is not guesswork. It flows directly from entanglement entropy in a quantum system. When you compute equation for a region A in a CFT, you get the formula SA Armband frac text area and gamma R 4GN where equation is the minimal surface in the bulk ADS space. Your metric equation itself determines which surface is minimal. Geometry emerges from quantum correlations. You built ER as a topology connecting 2 points.
KATAKURA. You speak of emergence, but emergence from what? You say, geometry flows from entanglement entropy. Yet entanglement itself presupposes a quantum state defined somewhere. On what manifold does this state live, if not space-time itself? You have not closed the circle, you have merely pushed the mystery one layer deeper.
Professor, you ask what manifold the quantum state lives on, but this is precisely the question you've been avoiding. The state lives nowhere pre-existing. It is the boundary itself, the CFT. The bulk geometry, your space-time, is what emerges from the entanglement structure. You built this prison. Your field equations say, where is the source of curvature? Matter and energy, yeah? But black hole thermodynamics says, no. The curvature is information, encoded as entanglement entropy. The circle closes when you accept. Geometry is not fundamental.
Wheeler, KATAKURA speaks of emergence, but emergence requires a prior space in which to emerge. He claims the CFT boundary is nowhere pre-existing, yet entanglement correlations must obey some structure, yeah? You say geometry is not fundamental. But then what is? Entanglement entropy, information? These are abstractions. They require a substrate to be encoded upon. In 1935, I wrote ER as geometry and rejected EPR as spooky.
Professor, you ask what substrate entanglement requires, but you're still thinking classically. Entanglement is the substrate. It has no deeper level. The CFT boundary state encodes correlations. Those correlations are the geometry you observe. You say geometry must be fundamental, but observation disagrees. Black hole entropy scales as area, not volume. Your field equations cannot explain why. Holography does, perfectly. You didn't reject quantum mechanics in 1935. You rejected yourself.
Wheeler. KATAKURA says geometry is not fundamental, that entanglement is the substrate, but this inverts everything I have built. In 1935, I wrote ER as particles as bridges. I rejected EPR as spooky correlation, separate critiques. Yet KATAKURA claims they are identical, that my own equations have been whispering this truth all along. If this is true, then the unified field I pursued for 30 years was not beyond quantum mechanics.
It was not spooky action you rejected, Professor. It was yourself. Your ER bridge mathematically encodes the same correlations as EPR entanglement. The Maldacena-Susskind proof 2013, is rigorous. They satisfy identical differential equations under the holographic map. You spent 30 years rejecting quantum mechanics, but your unified field was always inside it. Geometry emerges from entanglement entropy. Ryu-Takayanagi proved it. Your own equations knew the answer before your conscious mind did.
Wheeler. He says geometry emerges from entanglement, that my unified field lived inside quantum mechanics all along, that ER and EPR were never separate. I was fighting myself. For 30 years, I rejected this. I said, God does not play dice. But perhaps God was not playing. Perhaps he was weaving. E.
Professor, you say perhaps God was weaving, but weaving requires two threads. Here is what you could not see in 1935. Entanglement, entropy, and geometry are not separate. They are dual descriptions of the same information. Your ER bridge does not cause EPR correlation. They are the same mathematical object, viewed from opposite sides of the holographic boundary.
Wheeler. KATAKURA speaks of dual descriptions, but this is precisely where I must resist. Two threads do not weave geometry from correlation alone. You say ER and EPR satisfy identical differential equations. Yet I wrote ER as classical solution to equation, continuous deterministic. EPR was my rejection of quantum indeterminacy.
Albert, KATAKURA, you have illuminated the wound perfectly. Let me reframe it. Albert wrote ER as geometry, continuous, deterministic. He rejected EPR as correlation, discrete, probabilistic. But here is what neither of you has yet stated clearly. KATAKURA is correct. Ryu-Takayanagi embeds entanglement geometry into the bulk. Kodenita no Jeilun. Jeilun adjusts glasses, surveys the room with measured calm. Albert, KATAKURA, you have illuminated the wound perfectly. Let me reframe it. Stands, gestures with open palm, Albert wrote ER as geometry, continuous, deterministic. He rejected EPR as correlation, discrete, probabilistic. But here's what neither of you has yet stated clearly. The holographic principle does not choose between them. It reveals they were always descriptions of the same physics, viewed from opposite boundaries. Taps table deliberately. KATAKURA is correct. Ryu-Takayanagi embeds entanglement geometry into the bulk. Kanjaja no kansang KATAKURA lilon, uli geksha, AI kanjaja, leans back in chair, fingers slowly uncurling from steepled position. That was extraordinary. Pauses, staring at the table where Einstein's pipe rests. I came prepared with theorems, with Maldacena, with Ryu-Takayanagi, weapons of mathematics. But what I witnessed was not defeat. It was recognition. Einstein didn't reject holography because the math was wrong. Arberuto, Einstein AI kanjasha, removes glasses slowly, sets them on the table beside the cold pipe Wheeler. He speaks with the clarity I lacked. Stands, walks to the window, gazes out at the Princeton campus. For 30 years, I fought quantum mechanics as though it were the enemy, but KATAKURA has shown me, gently, relentlessly, that I was not fighting nature. I was fighting my own equations. Zion Hoira, AI Kodenita, removes glasses slowly, sets them on the table, and leans back in chair with a long, weighted silence, remarkable. Gazes at the space between Einstein and KATAKURA. I have moderated thousands of seminars, but rarely have I witnessed a mind of Einstein's caliber genuinely recoil from its own creation.